The talk of going clean is not walking the Trudeau government or the provinces towards a greener future. The Commissioner of the Environment and Auditor Generals across Canada have put climate change progress under their scrutiny, and they found some discouraging results.
As the Commissioner of Sustainable Development, as she has said, that this report is really backwards looking. This is before we had our federal climate plan largely and before the measures have been taken by the provinces. As we know, previous government did nothing for a decade, but we're 100% committed to our target. Hard things are hard, but we have a plan and we're already seeing measurable results, but it takes time.
All right, let's discuss the findings. We are joined by the Commissioner of the Environment and Sustainable Development, Julie Gelfand, joins me in the studio. Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Historic day.
Absolutely.
Auditors Generals all get together. You can't fool around with Auditors Generals. They don't take it. But, you know, the minister talks about, oh, this is looking backwards. I'm not sure I agree with that. You seem to be setting up to look forward. Is the forward path looking clean and green to you?
Well, let's think about it.
Okay.
We've had several international targets, and in the past, we've had several different climate change plans that were supposed to help us get to those targets. And over time, we have missed every single one of the targets that we've hit. The federal government is not talking about the 2020 target at all anymore. And now we've got 12 more years to reach an even more difficult target at 2030. When we look across the country at the provinces, guess what we found? Only 3 provinces had a 2030 target. And yet, the government is telling us that everybody's aiming at 2030. Doesn't quite make sense.
I mean, the way I was reading it, you've got failure to reach targets, failure to assess the risk, failure to coordinate, failure to show progress reports. I mean, what's the most important failure out there? There's so many of them. What's most concerning to you?
I would say 2 things are most concerning to me. One is meeting those targets. Canada needs to do its share in terms of government action on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and the Paris Agreement, all governments have committed to doing that, except one. So we have to do our part. We have to hit those targets. I would say the thing that probably impacts Canadians the most is we've got to get ready to adapt. We're already feeling the impacts. We have forest fires in BC that are the size of Prince Edward Island. We have floods that are happening more often, and they're bigger and stronger. Extreme weather events, rising sea levels, poor PEI, the melting of the permafrost in the north. So I would say that action, identifying the climate change risks for each government and then acting on those is probably the most important thing.
And, you know, we talk about this Paris climate change target, and that graphic you talked about, I should have showed this for our viewers, but it basically shows that there's no way we're going to reach those targets. Have we given up on that? So for the 2030 target, the government has to implement absolutely everything that's in the Pan-Canadian framework, and there will still be a delta. So they have to go beyond that. So first we have to get those things acted on, and what we look for as auditors, where's the action plan? Who is going to do what, when, and how much is it going to cost? And we haven't seen detailed action plan for the implementation of the Pan-Canadian framework, and we haven't seen those plans either for the past plans. See, the great thing about this report was these are auditor generals. These aren't environment ministers that are trying to spin a cleaner picture out of a bad one. These are auditors that say, look, we're looking for the plan, we're looking for the numbers, we don't see it. And an awful lot of columns had NAs where there were supposed to be, you know, reduction targets that are just 2 years away. So is this a failing grade nationally? Except for maybe 2 or 3 exceptions? Yeah,
it's the passing part of the grade is that there is some action that's happening, but it's ad hoc, it's not well planned, it's not based on risk. There's a lot more to do. We're out of the starting gate. It's not like we're doing nothing, but there's a lot more to do to reach our targets.
I know that you don't want to get into the politics of this, but we have 2 provinces heading into elections in the not-too-distant future. We're getting out of climate change plans. Getting out of carbon pricing is a top campaign pledge. This is Ontario and Alberta. What happens if that goes through? What happens if that political reality comes in?
Well, that's not the job of an auditor.
I know, but that will set back 2 of the most important provinces, right?
It begs the question. We had plans in the past and we didn't hit targets. Was it because of politics? Was it because we didn't have good action plans? What are the reasons? I think the current plan is at risk for all kinds of different reasons. And what auditors look at is where's the implementation plan, the action plan, who will do what, when, where, and where are the results? So the results are that the emissions are not going down. We have not seen them go down yet. And the results are we're not ready to adapt.
That's a pretty grim assessment. All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner. We always appreciate having you on the show. We'll see what happens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.